Today I want to answer the question, do kids have better outcomes with married parents? Let's get into it. Before we do, my name is Casey. I built this channel to try to promote a future of faith, fatherhood, and freedom for Americans, and that means my children and possibly your children. If you can get behind that, I would love your support. We're working towards a couple thousand and a half subscribers, which I'm exceedingly grateful for. Please like on the way in. Let's get into the question, do married parents have better outcomes for their children, or is it okay just to have the civil union and go about this in the modern way? I really love Brad Wilcox's book. It's called Get Married, and he details a lot of this information. It's really compiled well, but it's based on census data. And according to the CDC, kids who have married parents have better mental health, higher educational attainment, lower involvement in crime, greater economic stability and upward mobility, and more stable adult relationships later in life. This is largely because of the level of commitment on the part of the parents makes it harder to separate, which leads to better potential long-term relationships, or at least relationships that last longer. Brad Wilcox says the evidence is clear. Children are more likely to flourish when they are raised by married biological parents. A couple more quotes from Brad Wilcox on this. He says, marriage matters not because parents are perfect, but because marriage binds adults to children and to one another. And the retreat from marriage as a society has been hardest on children, particularly those from working class and poor communities. And part of that is because the government came in to meet the needs that would have ordinarily been met by the stability that's available within a marriage. That could include things like food stamp benefits and welfare benefits and other Social Security type things. And while all those programs do exist and they can be useful and purposeful, they are ultimately a replacement for what was once done through church integration and through the stability that's offered within a marriage. Here is the really hard brass tacks of it. This is from Wilcox again, but there are other sources that will align with his vision here. Marriage raises the cost of exit, and so if you have parents that have a higher cost for leaving the relationship, they're more likely to stay together, and that's more likely to be a positive model for a child who they witness throughout their upbringing. Now, we always have to do the caveats because there are always bad and abusive relationships. If you're in one of those, get out of it, obviously. And I have high empathy for you in that situation. Having been a therapist for 13 years, obviously, I've seen those types of relationships. This isn't a blanket statement. It is based on statistical analyses of large sets of data. So generally, it's better for kids to be able to witness a long-term relationship that goes throughout the course of their upbringing. Wilcox also says that it aligns incentives between adults and children. It creates legal, social, and moral expectations that persist when things get hard, and it stabilizes the male involvement in the child's life, especially if dad is not on the outs with mom. If dad is a stable and productive member of the family and he's highly respected within the home, the child has better outcomes even when it's a female child, just in terms of how they even orient to their later relationships in life. This is about averages and probabilities, not individual cases. And so, of course, as a therapist, I must caveat everything. There are individual cases that won't align, and you should get separated at some point just because you picked poorly in the first place. Here's the part that might influence policy if we let it. At the population level, the data consistently favors married parent households for children. That is what's best. Wilcox is very explicit and says that policy and culture should be built on what works most often, not on the exceptions. The no-fault divorce and the ways that we've promoted a separated culture and an atomized culture is the exception. What is best for children should be what is most supported with policy measures, and therefore the government should not be incentivizing becoming everyone's daddy. But that is what has happened over the last 50 years, and the society and culture that we have as the result of that is not benefiting. Marriage isn't a guarantee of good outcomes, but the absence of marriage is one of the strongest predictors of bad outcomes. Therefore, if you want to have best outcomes for your children, first of all, pick a good spouse. Secondly, marry them. Thirdly, have children in that order. That ultimately, while you may think that that's old-fashioned, I think the data bears out that that's what's best for kids, and that's what we want to promote here on this channel, and I hope and pray that my children also adhere to later in life as I try to be a good model of integrity and character for them in my marriage, treating my wife with respect. Happy birthday, baby. Today's her birthday. She looks 21. She's not 21. And I just love the fact that they get to see us grow into a better relationship even as we're on our 11th and 12th year than we had in the beginning, than we had when we first started having children. And that is a grace that's given to us by God, that I've had the opportunity to have a loyal wife who's stuck by me even though I'm a Midwestern midwit. If you can get behind any of this, marriage, children, the promotion of a society that engages successfully with those institutions, again, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate your support.